Coming up on show 890, VW starts to hand over the first ever customer versions of the ID.3. Stick around, I got details. Plus on the podcast today, an affordable estate car / wagon, whatever you want to call it. Why Tesla are ordering 450,000 heat pumps and plug-in versions of very fast Audis. Well, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you're listening in the world. Welcome to EV News Daily, first one of the week. Here we go, Monday, 14th of September. My name is Martyn Lee, if you're new to the show. And what I do is I go through every EV story that I can possibly find every single day, whittle it down to this little podcast to save you time and save you having to go through that whole process. So this is just what you need to know. Thank you, as always, to myev.com for helping make the show. MyEV in the US is a great marketplace to connect buyers and sellers and those learning more about EVs as well. And even those in the trade, check out myev.com. Well, the very first VW ID.3 cars are being handed over to customers now as of the end of last week, according to the press centre at Volkswagen-newsroom.com. And according to Electrive, the first edition model made in their factory in Dresden, the first car was handed over. It was a white version of the ID.3. These are all the first editions, by the way. So that means it's not the biggest battery pack, but it's the 58 kilowatt hour battery pack. About 420 kilometres on this one on the WLTP test cycle as well. If you're wondering who got the very first one, his name's Oliver. Oliver Nicolai actually went to the factory to pick it up. Now, the picture shows some of the senior Volkswagen management there, along with Jürgen Stackmann. Now, he is the board member. I think he is still the board member at VW, as in the brand, not the group. And he looks after sales and marketing as well. Although there are German press reports that he's either moving to do a different role or someone coming in from Porsche to do that specific role. So I don't know specifically what's happening with him, but he is one of the Volkswagen execs who is a little more active on Twitter. So I did see him tweet this, by the way, late on Friday. I caught up with this tweet, so a little late for the news last week, but it was the ceremonial handover, as he described it. It was the very first ID.3 first. And so congratulations to Oliver for getting the first one. Now, according to Electrive, if you want to get the first edition of the ID.3, then it's about 40,000 euros before the German incentives. They call it the environmental bonus, and it's almost 10,000 euros off a car. The other versions go a little more expensive, about 49,995 euros for the Pro First Max. And so with those discounts in Germany, just about the most generous around Europe at the moment, you can genuinely pick up a VW all-electric ID branded car for not much more than 30,000, which is pretty good. But I'm not sure that's what this first buyer would have paid at least. So now I want to hear from you. If you've heard about any more cars being handed over, if you've seen anything on the back of, I don't know, car carriers, maybe you've got one. I'd love to hear from any listeners of this podcast who've ordered an ID.3 and finally got one, or even a date in the diary. Fill in my knowledge gaps, and we can put together, using this podcast and the audience that it's got, a bit of a picture of how they are being rolled out. I imagine over the next couple of weeks, because they've made, well, I gather near on 30,000 of these things since the end of last year, been sitting around waiting for customers. I gather they want to ship as many as they can in this month to make a splash on the monthly sales figures, calling it Super September. So let's see if they're doing that. Let me know. Okay, I really miss having an estate car. I had a Skoda Octavia, admittedly combustion version, but I loved that car. It was so useful. A lot of people would just prefer an SUV. They want the crossover style. They've got families and kids, and it just seems to be the thing that people do now. But I would still have, if I possibly could, an estate car. Well, I can now. MG, those of MG ZS EV fame, are bringing a full electric estate car. The MG5 is coming at least to the UK. I would imagine the rest of Europe as well, but sadly not North America. If you want yourself a wagon at the end of this year, it has a WLTP range of 214 miles, got a 7-year warranty. It'll cost £24,000 after incentives, or 23,995. And I imagine there might not be too much wiggle room on that, because it'll be a car in demand as well, with a 50 kilowatt hour battery pack, which is bigger than its cousin car / sibling, the MG ZS EV, which began at about 25,000. But weren't there some extra incentives back at the beginning of that car going on sale where MG would match the UK government's £3,500, which made it even cheaper? Because you want the exclusive trim on that. Now, I don't know the trim levels of the MG5. I don't know why the SUV is called the MG ZS EV, and this is called the MG5. I don't know why the naming is not almost in line for their electric models. It would kind of, my brain likes to line up sometimes, and they're just not even close. Like one's a number and one is a bunch of letters. So I don't know how they explain that. Maybe it matches the rest of the fossil gobbling line. I don't really follow the other cars they sell very well because I don't really care about anything that isn't an EV. And so, yep, UK's got £3,500 off full EVs at the moment. So 23,995 is about the price that you would pay of a similarly sized estate car. So if you were looking at the Golf estate, for instance, it's about the same price. Now, I get bashed over the head on social media from people who either don't get EVs, don't like EVs, or just, you know, petrol heads to say, oh, well, EVs are massively more expensive. And I know, wake me up or remind me or tell me about EVs when they are the same price as petrol cars. Well, look, this is the same price as a Volkswagen Golf, just about really, the combustion versions. Now, okay, so maybe you can get more of a deal on an existing combustion car. I won't deny you that, because EVs are in short supply, so you're not going to get a huge discount from the sticker price. And admittedly, maybe you would prefer a Golf over the production and build quality of the MG being made by a Chinese company these days. So, you know what, that doesn't bother me, because I think the quality, I think that's a really outdated perception for many people. Look, I think, you know, the Chinese production will deliver what they're asked to, and if Chinese factories are asked to deliver absolute dirt cheap knockoff stuff with terrible quality for a rock bottom price, they will. And if they're asked to, you know, Chinese manufacturing is as good as anything else now. I'm pretty much sure the best high-end tech, I'm pretty much sure my £1,000 iPhone I'm looking at was made in China. So, you know, that whole kind of, oh, well, it was made in China kind of dismissal thing is pretty much outdated now. So I can't wait to get, it's kind of funny, actually, where I live, I've got a Renault Zoe, and the MG dealer is across the road from the Renault dealer. May even be owned by the same franchise owner. I don't know. I know when I go to Renault, I see MGs across the road, and I can't wait to go and drive one of these, because an MG5, well, it's a handy sized car for where we are, with a little fella in the household now and all the stuff that comes with push chairs and things like that. And actually, it'd be really handy to have a car that big. So we'll see. A reminder, electric cars, very, very cheap to run as well. So even if they are a little more expensive to buy at the beginning, you do make your money back depending on how long you have them. 214 miles, I'll make a comment and say that's pretty good. Not stunning from a 50 kilowatt hour pack, but, you know, acceleration, pretty good. It's like 7.5 seconds. That is as rapid enough as you need. You can register your interest now with MG. Tesla, I mentioned this at the beginning, are ordering 500,000 heat pumps for Giga Shanghai. So this is made in China Model 3, and amidst rumours that the Model 3 is about to undergo a bit of a refresh. Now, Tesla don't really do model years, but they do constantly improve their cars. Recently, they made the front trunk smaller. They moved it forward and made it smaller. They're making room behind it for something. And I think it's probably fair to say that they're using the same, I don't know, I'm guessing they're making room behind it because that is where the heat pump in the Model Y goes. And now the order of 450,000 units annually has been revealed that it has put into a supplier in Nanjing in China. So they could be for the 3, they could be for the Y, they could be for both. And who knows? I mean, they're going to be making both cars in China very soon. It would make sense to have as many common bits inside as they possibly can. But it's great news that if it is for the Model 3 made in China, maybe even for made in California ones as well, that they are upgrading that Model 3 as much as they can to keep it in line with the Model Y, which is objectively a much better car because they've piled everything that they've learned about making EVs into the Model Y, leaving the Model 3 just a little bit behind in a few areas. I know they've updated the wireless mobile phone charging and the USB-C sockets, etc., but that's really good news that things like a heat pump, which is actually quite important for efficiency, could be making its way to the Model 3. I'll watch that story like a hawk, and I'll pop a link to Teslarati in the show notes. And just following up from Electrek as well, kind of on this same kind of subject, that Electrek claim that they've heard rumours Tesla are updating the Model 3 in many areas. A new centre console, a new steering wheel, and the heat pump as well to bring it in line with refreshes on the Model Y. Centre console 2.0, they've called it. New headlights, new tail lights. I don't think these come with the fish tank feature. I think that's hopefully sorted. A powered liftgate at the back. That'd be huge. I know loads of people lost their mind. I was about to say lost their something else, but lost their mind on the internet when the Model 3 came out, and it didn't, shock horror, have a powered liftgate. I've never had a car with a powered boot because they have two arms. And people go, oh, but when you have two handfuls of shopping and you need to wave your foot under somewhere and it opens the boot. I mean, it's a real hardship to put down one of those bags and open the boot, so I don't really get that. But I know people went absolutely crazy online, like, oh my God, it's a premium car and it hasn't got a powered liftgate, because they don't want to actually have to reach up with their hand and pull it down. They like to reach up with their hand and push a button and watch a machine pull it down. It's one of the curiosities that I find of different kind of cultures and what people expect from cars and things. I don't expect it at all, but I think maybe it's more of a USA thing. People were like, oh my God, how can it not have it? Well, it's coming to the Model 3. They're taking off the chrome. They call it chrome delete, but they're taking off the chrome, and new double glazing as well, which I think is a big deal. New windows, double panes. And I don't know anything about whether that was on Model Y but not Model 3. If it did, it passed me by. But it's huge news, because in an EV, you haven't got the engine noise to drown out everything else. And so you only hear the tyre noise and the road noise. And so silencing just becomes really, really important. I'll pop a link to Electrek in the show notes. Moving on to Motor One next. And they're talking about Lexus and the brand new all-electric car coming from Lexus, the UX 300e. And, you know, I'm the first to give Toyota a hard time for their ridiculous advertising campaign to try and flog unsuspecting people a mild hybrid and call them self-charging hybrids, and they seem to weasel their way out of it with the regulators to say, well, you know, braking and going downhill, it self-charges, so technically, I suppose, but I just think it does a massive disservice to the community and confuses people as well, because it implies that plugging in is a very bad thing. But shock horror, they've just released a car that you do have to plug in. So which way is it, Toyota? Do you like plugs or not? Got to decide sooner or later. Can't have it both ways. You can't talk out both sides of your mouth when you're going to be releasing the Lexus UX 300e. Specs on it, pretty good, actually. About 250 miles of range. Oh, that's NEDC. Oh, no. It's got a 54.3 kilowatt hour pack, about 288 lithium-ion cells. It's an air-cooled system, a 10-year battery warranty on that, 0 to 60, 7.5 seconds, 100 miles an hour, limited top speed. Front-wheel drive only, but it's a 150 kilowatt motor, about 201 brake horsepower. 6.6 kilowatt onboard charger, but it will charge at 50 kilowatts, and so this is all good. This is great. Well done. Well done to Toyota and their spin-off brand Lexus for doing this. Luxurious car, the UX 300e, starts at 40 grand after you take off the UK government grant, but you can spec it up to 53.5. And it comes with DC fast charging, like I say, at 50 kilowatts. But from the spec sheet that went to Motor One, they put a screenshot of the spec sheet in. It all looks good. You know, Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, reversing cameras, big alloys, electric and heated seats, all lovely, LED headlamps. All looks good. This is all good, by the way. CHAdeMO DC charging. What? Just as a couple of months ago we hear from the Nissan team, the Nissan Ariya is the car that's coming out next year. They've ditched CHAdeMO. They were the last ones with CHAdeMO, really. They've ditched that now, really declaring the death knell for that plug here in Europe. Now, there's a massive installed base of CHAdeMO plugs. It's not going anywhere anytime soon. Those units will still be serviced for a while yet longer for all the Nissan Leafs that are out there charging on CHAdeMO. And I didn't expect we'd ever see a new car on sale again with CHAdeMO, because that's it. I mean, not for Japan and not for other places, but certainly for Europe, that's it now for CHAdeMO, really. I'm reluctant to say. Not good news for Leaf owners, but like I say, there's loads of chargers out there and installed already, so it's not going anywhere anytime soon. But a new car with CHAdeMO? Like, did you not get the memo, Lexus? I mean, if you'd have called me and said, what do you reckon? Here's the specs. I'd have gone, great, awesome, well done. A full EV, top work. UCCS combo plug. Okay, so of course CHAdeMO is limited as well to 50 kilowatts on pretty much every charger out there. The standard, It's not. And there's new CHAdeMO, or Xiaoji, which is aligning with the Chinese standard, GBT. So, CHAdeMO's got a bright future, just not here in Europe. So it's not that, again, the standard isn't going anywhere, but it's an odd decision to make a new EV with CHAdeMO. I'll pop a link to Motor One in the show notes. Right, let's talk Audis, plug-in Audis, fast plug-in Audis, the RS brand from Audi Sport. The next generation RS4 will come with a plug-in hybrid powertrain, because if you want to get some extra speed, add some motors, electric motors. About 50 miles of all-electric range, 80 kilometers on this, which is really, really, really good. So the new generation, according to Green Car reports, of Audi RS cars, like the Q5, the A8, the plug-in versions of those that already went on sale earlier this year, they will have that plug-in hybrid powertrain. And, with the average US commute being, I think it's now 29 miles a day, that's not a bad shout to go, you know what, we'll put a big battery pack under the seats at the back and under the boot, so lose a bit of boot space. But actually, if you can put a big enough battery in there to get most of your miles done on electric power alone, then it's there. It's always there for when you mash the throttle pedal to give you an extra bit of boost and speed. So that's great. Nice big packs coming. I can't find the exact pack size for the new RS models. All we know is the existing ones sit at around 14.1 kilowatt hours for the existing plug-in powertrains, but they won't do this with the RS models for the Audis. They will make the battery, they'll make it bigger. How far they go, I don't know. But if they took them 50 miles of battery pack, they'll be putting in, 20 kilowatt hours? Okay, thinking out loud. I might be wrong. Let me know what you think. Let's talk about the 2020 Chevy Bolt EV existing model year is getting cheaper. If you'd like one at $150 a month, you can do that with a lease deal through Costco. Labor Day may have come and gone, but there are some very cheap Labor Day deals out there, and the leases on the Bolt EV could make it a great time to buy thanks to a Costco program that'll bring the monthly lease fee down to $154 a month, maybe even less than that in some parts of the country. A bulletin was sent to Chevy dealers last week. Members of the popular warehouse chain are now eligible for a $3,000 bonus when buying or leasing with a dealer that exists within Costco's network. And then, of course, there are other incentives as well. There's national lease incentives and potential savings to get in some certain areas, which can bring that cost for a 12,000 mile a year lease down over 36 months to what's a really, really low monthly fee. So I'll pop a link to Cars Direct to find out more. And finally on the podcast today, we're talking about Scotland, a country that has embraced EVs and embarrassed the rest of us, frankly. Not quite Norway, but certainly doing some good things. They've actually even got a 0% loan scheme to buy new EVs. And that's a government scheme, I believe, with a low carbon transport loan. And they're now extending it to cover used electric vehicles. Mega news. This is a move that helps electric vehicles. And for those that are put off by the high price of used vehicles and can't afford the purchase price, you can now get a loan of up to £20,000 and it's interest free. It's over 5 years. And according to nextgreencar.com, they say that the new measures come into effect from the 28th of September for those living in Scotland and meeting the criteria, and it's great that it extends to the used car market as well. A reminder, talking about Next Green Car, the people behind the Zap Map app to find chargers are now Zap Pay as well, a new way to pay for your charging. I interviewed them on the Saturday special just gone, and a massive apology as well for anyone who found their Apple or Spotify feed jammed around the 8th or the 9th of September. I didn't know that was happening, and then I got a flood of emails over the weekend to say, where have you been? And I said, I've been here all along, and people said, I haven't got your podcasts. And so I gave it a kick over the weekend. I hate it when these things happen. I don't know what happened. It all seems to be working well now. So a little report, if you can, let me know it's all good. Send me a social media message or an email to hello@evnewsdaily.com. Let me know it's all good, and I can relax. Thank you very much for listening today. That's your show. I'd love to hear from you on anything. hello@evnewsdaily.com, as I say, is my email address. If you would like to check out Patreon, it's how we fund the show. You're more than welcome to. I invite you to check out patreon.com/evnewsdaily. The different tiers there, which you can choose to support this show, starting at just $5 a month, and you can make it happen. You could put tomorrow's episode on the air. It's the only way that I fund this show. Premium partners are Phil Roberts of Electric Future, Brad Crosby, Avid Technology, Porsche of the Village in Cincinnati, Audi of Cincinnati East, Volvo Cars of Cincinnati East, NationalCarCharging.com and AlohaCharge.com in Hawaii, and Derek Riley. Now, he runs the EV Review Ireland YouTube channel, and it's growing all the time. Hit a massive subscriber milestone recently, and it gets bigger and bigger. Have a wonderful day. I'll catch you tomorrow, and do remember, there is no such thing as a self-charging hybrid.